Happy Wednesday, people. Welcome to the Kris and Gina Relationship Show. I'll be Kris today, and this is Gina.
And I'll be Gina today.
How you doing?
I am good. How are you? It's hot. Woo,
So,
Lord.
I'm going to let you guys know at home now. I have a little mini sweat rag. If you see me do this, it's kind of warm where
I have
we
a
are.
whole ice bag.
And I have lemonade.
That cool, refreshing drink.
Exactly.
Lemonade was a popular drink.
I'm going to get right to it. But before I do, I'd like to let Gina know what today is.
Please, because you know I live for this.
I don't know why I like doing it. It's so corny.
I live for it.
Today is actually, it's National Surgical Oncologist Day.
Ew. Well, that's not nice.
Surgical oncologists need love too.
I get it, but like, no one wants to talk about surgical oncology.
It's Russian National Flag Day. If anybody cares.
That might be worse. I don't know. But you know what it really is today?
What is it?
It's the beginning of Virgo season.
I've seen
know who's a
on
Virgo?
social media. Gina B in the place.
You know
to
when my
be.
birthday is?
I should know that.
Well, you don't have to know that.
Soon.
Monday.
It's a party next Wednesday.
It's going to be a
And
party,
lastly,
y'all.
it is National Rainbow Baby Day. Not what you think. I thought that too.
Please let me know what
But
that
I
is.
would not offend. You know,
What is a rainbow baby?
Those are people. The rainbow is a symbol of like new life, new birth, that sort of thing. People who've had a hard time conceiving.
Oh.
It's a beautiful thing.
Okay.
You guys were going there.
I was just making sure it wasn't babies over the rainbow bridge.
Today we have a topic, and I would like to hear from all of you. If you've experienced this, you know people who have. Men, if you've heard this. I know I am married, and I hear, through some of my wife's friends who might not be, what the dating life is like.
Okay.
Today's show. What?
I'm just waiting.
Today's show are college-educated sisters having a difficult time finding a spouse. For those who want a spouse. Admittedly, this show is for those who want a spouse.
Right.
Everybody doesn't want to be married.
Well,
as a man, I can tell you we can be a handful. Think about what you ask
and
for.
a lot of, yeah.
Now, to keep me honest, and keep Gina B honest,
Right.
we brought in a third party, a clinical specialist, and super producer, Jake, could you bring brother Khalid Scott?
Yay!
Studio applause. Doesn't it feel good when you come in like that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I like doing it.
The crowd goes mad.
Before Gina B peppers you with questions,
Because I will.
because she will, can you let those watching us know what you do, a little bit of background, why you qualify? Shout out to Tamika, watching from Vegas.
Hotter
Tamika.
than here, maybe.
Yeah, it's about 100 in the studio. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. During the day, I work as a social worker at the VA. So I'm a federal government employee working with homeless veterans. And then in the evenings and some weekends, I'm in private practice where I do both individual and marriage therapy. All right. I'm also a mentor, and I just celebrated 30 years of being a social worker.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I know you can't tell because of this black beard, but
I feel you. I got some grays here, but I keep that real low.
Well, Walgreens just for men works very good. You know what I'm saying?
The word on the street, I've heard this, they discontinued it. I'm just letting you know.
Right. So you have to order it through Amazon now.
That's what you heard.
I see you're experts.
I know nothing about this. I know nothing. I don't even know what he's talking about.
I know less about it than both of you.
As I
Just
started sweating a little bit more.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you've seen some problematic couples.
Oh, most definitely. And right now, I have 9 friends going through divorces.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
Oh, no. Is there a theme?
Yes.
What is the
Was
theme?
it the brother's fault in every equation?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's never like one.
I
It
tried.
takes two people
We
to
mess
derail
up
a
though.
relationship.
We mess up a lot.
So wait, before we get into our topic today, I'm now curious. What is the theme?
We're empty nesters.
Oh, we've grown apart.
And we went through that pandemic, and we set ourselves down, and we had conversations with our inner selves and says, I don't have to be miserable no more.
Wow.
And I'm not going to be miserable anymore. We can try the therapy, but if that therapy doesn't work, I'm out. And
So
I'm going to live my best life.
in that situation, are they walking into therapy feeling like there's optimism still,
Yes.
or are they just like this is just a formality before we get to the nitty gritty of the divorce?
Yes, I feel the optimism. And before Gina and Kris, what I would do is mostly it would be the wives contacting me, right?
Right.
And then what would happen was I would tell them I have to speak to your husband because I don't want an emotional blackmailed husband to be in the room. He
Right.
has to be just as motivated as you are. And pretty much when I talked to the husbands, they were just as motivated, even though they were dealing with the guilt. Because a lot of my couples are dealing with infidelity,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And then finances and lack of communication and all the ones you check off.
Right.
But they're willing to put the work in. And I remember my first couple that I had, they end up divorcing because the outside baby was his.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we're taking it all the way far in this show. We're just basically trying to talk about how people can date.
Exactly.
So
Before we go through how to get through a divorce, etc.,
Right.
it's another show.
So we're talking about people meeting their future ex-husbands in this show.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So, exactly. Yeah.
Let's hope not. I'm going to approach this with optimism. So, okay. So, you're a licensed clinical social worker. What does the CADC stand for?
Certified alcohol and drug counselor,
Okay. And then what does the LPHA stand for?
licensed practitioner of the healing arts.
Oh, wow.
I love this because you have seen so many problems. That's a good thing.
And you're licensed to help fix so many. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I'm a behaviorist. So what I've done in my career, I've studied the behavior patterns of people to understand why we make certain decisions and why we do the things we do. Because I have this saying, we don't marry people, we marry our patterns.
That is a good
Every
thing to
time.
remember.
Every time.
I
Now,
like that.
I've got to think about that now as a person who's getting married this year.
So,
I'm like, huh.
so this title, do you feel, for those who chimed in, thank you viewers for checking us out. I see some new folks.
We have some new people.
I see that.
Khalid's
Do you think
followers.
that there
Thank you.
is amongst college educated sisters, because first off, shout out to black women, they're probably the most educated group of folks. So let's kudos and shout out to women, those women. Do you believe that there is a feeling amongst them that there aren't enough eligible men or women on their level? I'm not saying they are or aren't, no disrespect to any brothers, but is that their feeling?
Yes, it's a sentiment. And what happens is it's a sentiment that gets passed like any good rumor.
Right.
Once you tell one person and then you see maybe some evidence of it, then you start believing it. You start believing it, you know? And the thing is, there's something for everyone, but you have to know who you are first before you even enter a relationship to really know what you want, because as an educated woman, you might be really okay with a blue collar guy.
Right.
But if you're looking for the Cosby Show, where you think both of you all have to have degrees from Hillman, then that might be setting you up for failure right then and there.
Correct.
So why do you think that black women who are educated are hell-bent on finding a similarly educated man? Is there something that we've been getting fed, in your opinion, or tell us about what you think there?
So let me go back to the point I just made. In September of 1984, what television show came on in September and changed our perspective as black people?
Cosby Show, probably.
The Cosby Show, right?
Oh,
Because what we had before was what Good Times, right?
right.
So you had James Evans Sr., who was a blue collar guy. He got jobs when he could get in. And then you had Mom, who was a housewife. But then when James died, she became a bus driver.
Right.
So fast forward, you had this beautiful woman who was a lawyer. and this handsome, strong, dedicated, loving, good communicating man who was a doctor. And they had these 5 beautiful, precocious, smart kids. And we were like, probably if you all around my age, I'm 54, we were teenagers watching this phenomenon. And I think all us guys wanted to be Theo. And I think a whole lot of girls wanted to be Vanessa and Denise, right?
Theo did come up on some nice looking women to be Theo. Yeah, I mean he did. I mean no lie. So.
Right.
Hey,
And so then, right, and then a few years later, what show came on right after?
A Different World.
A Different World. Wait a minute, people who look like me go to college?
Right.
And they have fun in college?
That was actually the show. Now that I'm telling my age, I was in college when A Different World came out, and that's what people would watch, you know.
Right.
Get together. I mean, everybody would get together in the dorm room. Homework would stop. That's what was happening.
Absolutely.
And, it was a beautiful thing.
Right. So it planted wonderful seeds in our heads. But when those 30-minute shows went off, we was left with the fantasy of
and the reality TV.
There you go. There you go. So we know what it does. It means to get to the wedding. But in all those Disney movies, we don't know what happened the day after the wedding, right?
Correct. So I know you got some questions. He said something I want to ask about.
Okay.
When he talked about the Disney movies, a lot of those couples, I went through premarital counseling. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering how many people do that, because the reason, I mean, marriage is hard. Let me qualify that for the single folks who like to say, you know, I'd rather be single than married and whatever. All relationships are hard.
Yeah, pick your hard.
If you're with the same person.
Right.
But I like marital counseling let you know, like, you're getting married, it's going to be hard. They tell you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And so I encourage everybody, if you're thinking about getting married and dating somebody, you all both go there. You talk about finances. You know what his or her credit score is. And y'all, you know everything. So there are no surprises. So I was wondering how many did a lot of folks do that, because it sets the level of expectation. Because these days, whether you're black, white, or whatever, folks are getting divorced.
Yes.
The Asians and Hispanic community less than white and black, but a lot of folks are getting divorced. So I was wondering how many folks went through that. Sorry about that.
Well, remember, we all are used to going to what? Spiritual marriage counseling, not psychosocial marriage counseling or premarital counseling, right? So we hear the spirituality about, well, whatever is broken, bring God into the fold and he will help see you through. Right. Have faith. But what that part misses is that, wow, you were abused as a kid. You have trauma as a kid. Are you going to be able to support each other? Right. Are you going to be able to deal with each other's demons effectively? Right? Are you going to give up when it gets real tough? How are you going to handle if he decides to sleep with the secretary at work? Right. How are you going to deal with she sleeps with the janitor at work? Are y'all still going to be together? So it's layered.
We're bickering again. No, okay, so back to something you said earlier that I thought was interesting. Okay, so when you talked about the Cosby Show, you talked about A Different World. You said when the 30-minute show was over, it's like the fantasy was over. But what if you're a person who actually did grow up that way, right? So you're a person who, like, I can tell you, like, I knew people who were similar to the Cosbys. I knew people who, you know, like my friends who went to, you know, like when I got around to watching the show, it felt like people that I knew in situations that I've seen, right? And so for people who grew up that way, do you feel that, have you talked to many patients, clients, whatever you refer to them as, who are like, well, it's kind of disappointing if I don't end up with a person who can contribute to this kind of lifestyle?
Right. So what happened was, you may have had a mom who was a lawyer and a dad was a doctor, but what you probably didn't know, or what they maybe masked in front of you, was the problems that they had. So on the outside, we saw this beautiful couple that just looked like they had everything together. But of course, we didn't know the dark demons, right? Correct. I mean, think about our family dynamics. How many of our granddaddies got outside kids? and our Uncle Big Walter, who had outside kids.
Yeah, Uncle
But him and grandma and him and auntie stayed together, had a big, nice house down in Georgia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the thing is, because black people, we keep stuff in house. We're not supposed to air our dirty laundry on the outside.
We used to.
Yeah, we
Right.
used to. 23andMe is
Absolutely.
telling on y'all, though.
Right. Now,
Absolutely.
You find some
Absolutely.
folks you didn't know were part of the family. I'm just saying.
Genevieve, that's a good point. I also think, talking about now Jake, I'm talking to producer Jake. Jake, all black. There's a lot of trauma in the black community, so I want Jake is in here listening.
Jake knows that.
But Jake is so I'm just letting folks know. But a lot of that trauma I've seen firsthand. My oldest daughter, I was not married when I had her, and when I had her with me, I would take her to get her hair done, right? And I can remember being a young college graduate with this little girl, getting her hair done, and the stylist would literally be saying, "Oh yeah, Kris, this was smart, girl. You get your own money. You don't need a man. Have your own. This, that, and the other. Blah blah blah." And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't say anything there, but when we left, I'm like,
My baby needs a husband.
"No, you fine. You gonna have some money, but you want a man because two people with money is better than none. First, he gotta like you." And then I thought back, and I have 3 daughters, and then I thought back to when I was a kid in the barber chair. Oh man, don't let these women do this. Don't let them spend your money. Basically, they tell you to be a player. Mm-hmm. And I was like, when did I? Now, fortunately for me, I had, a mother and a father that was married over, 50 years before he passed away recently. So I saw, and you're right, they mask a lot, but mm-hmm. I saw how he treated. My mother's decibel levels could go up to here. And he was a big dude, his wouldn't go that high, and all of a sudden it was fixed.
Yeah.
And I felt good about that, and I wanted my daughters to come up in the same environment. I wasn't married, so I made sure that I tell them, hey, look, because I believe that the good folks, men or women, no shout out to any good folks who are, they go quick. They go.
And then sometimes they come back on the market.
Not they gone quick. You're in the classroom with them.
Right.
All the boys and girls in school and doing good things right there with you in college. And then when you're out in the working world, years removed, everybody moves around. Where are they? It's harder to find him or her.
Right.
So, I think those people should be identified early in life as other groups do. We don't place enough emphasis on that. My wife overheard me say, wow, I wish somebody would have told me that. And I'm not insulted by that. But I reminded her she married for my special set of skills in Hollywood good looks.
Uh-huh. That's why. That's exactly the reason.
But no, I'm just saying we should really tell our kids that. That's all I'm saying.
I think that if you don't have a balanced household, you won't have a balanced opinion, right?
Right.
So, we were the 3 of us earlier were going back and forth on Messenger. Bickering as Kris and I
can
do,
be petty. Admittedly, I can be petty,
and allowing Khalid to kind of get a glimpse of how we do.
I almost linked in Jamal Matuka,
who would have been perfect, and he's chiming in right now.
Almost, but we just
Jamal.
had him. I said, let me space out a week.
He would have been perfect for this.
Yeah.
But I feel like so I was raised in a 2-parent household where my parents were together until my mom passed away about 12 years ago, and actually 14 years ago, and I just, I remember I got a more balanced viewpoint because my mother did have some friends who got divorced and were ass out, right? Like they didn't have money, they didn't have, education. I mean, she was of that generation, so she was very big on my education and on my independence. But at the same time,
and you are a baller.
What she was role modeling though were ways to stay in the marriage. And so I think that unless you have a balance, I think that you come out with different thoughts.
That's an excellent point.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Mina made a good point. Jake, can you?
Just blow up. What you read?
Today's women has more options. They are not staying in I think she means dead end relationships like Granny did. They will leave in a heartbeat to quote unquote do bad all by themselves.
They are in dead end relationships, Mina. But they're just not married. Look, there's no distinction between good relationships and bad. You got some people.
Well, let's let the
Yeah,
expert.
let's let the
answer
expert
that.
answer.
What do you think, Khalid?
I just
Is
do
there
my
a
head like this
distinction?
every time somebody says that.
Well, there could be a distinction. Let's see what he has to say.
What's your question?
I'll read the question for him. For me,
Well,
because he
he's
can't see
saying
it.
that
Read it
today's woman has
Right.
more options. They are not staying in dead end relationships like Granny did. They will leave in a heartbeat to quote unquote do bad all by themselves.
Everybody think Granny's stupid.
Right. So we learned lessons from Granny, right? Of what to do and what not to do. And it just didn't start with our generation. It started with my mom's generation. So let me use my mom as an example, okay? And I'm about to use what we do is called self-disclosure. So my grandfather beat my grandmother every day of their marriage.
Jesus.
And he had 5 children outside the marriage. 3 of the women were my grandmother's friends. So Gina, imagine you get married and 3 of your girlfriends have children by your husband.
Her husband probably
You
would be alive.
Dateline. That's all I have to say to you.
Right.
They would end him.
Right. But take this back to 1950,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so
People got killed.
when my mother became an adult, when my mother got 17, my mother had me by a married man, right? And so when I became an adult, I said, Mom, why did you choose to be a mistress? Why did you choose? She was like, son, don't ever question me about what I did with my life. But I'm gonna let you know right now why, and don't ever ask me again. I was never gonna live a life that my mother showed me.
Right.
I was not gonna have a man put his hands on me and sleep with my friends, and I was gonna be okay with it. Your grandmother was weak. I love her to death, but I was not gonna be that woman. So I was gonna be the other woman. Mr. Such and Such was gonna come over here, pay this rent. We were gonna handle our business, and he was gonna take his black self home to his wife and disrespect her.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Now.
And now, most people, when I tell that story, they think I'm praising my mom for being a mistress. No, not at all. Not at all, I'm not. But what I'm saying is, you get to dictate your response to your trauma. And you also get to dictate how you handle situations. My mother was 20, Mr. Lee was 45 years old, and he paid my mom's rent for 16 years.
Sounds like she was sort of smart in her way. I understand it. I don't. That's not my way, but I understand.
Absolutely.
Well, it depends
I'm
on your
assuming you
goals,
didn't,
right?
but again, you didn't watch your dad beat your mother, did you?
Right.
Right.
And I just wanted to say, I want to add that I understand that, and believe it or not, it's not just minority communities where this happened.
Right.
Women in general weren't always treated the best. But I always say that to let folks know I understand. So with Mina's comment, and I met Mina, she's brilliant, beautiful, smart. I get it. But everybody, that wasn't their situation.
Yeah.
Correct.
My and I let women know that because they use that as their reason. And I, and Gina knows I says this, whether I'm a man having a woman doing whatever to me, it's on me to remove myself from that.
Right.
And you have men that stay in toxic situations as well. It goes both ways. But there are also my grandfather had 15 children by the same woman.
She was tired.
Right? Now,
Yes.
I'm not saying he was perfect, but they stayed together, and I haven't heard any stories of that. He fought other folks, the man drank a little, but he didn't hit her. So my point is the man took care of home. And I would like to add, especially, and I said this a few minutes ago, people getting their hands put on when women being treated unfairly was not just for black folk. However, if you fast forward, something has happened, the traumas in our community, where they still plan who they're going to marry early, and we don't. And you pointed to around the Cosby area. I will tell folks, and I'm early 1900s, up until 1970, black folks married at a higher clip than everybody else, had the least amount of kids out of wedlock than every other race. So what happens is, and again, you're the professional, a lot of systemic stuff happened, but women have the right to choose where they do, where they work, and that's a beautiful thing. But somewhere we all lost let's do this family plan and stuff. Let's make it together. You know, it was no longer, you know, George and Wheezy. It was just Wheezy. I don't need George.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of. In fact, Jake, can you scroll up? There was a comment a little higher, Jenya. There we go. Where she says, I know too many women who went to college and got married, ended up getting divorced, and are back with someone familiar, like from childhood. They have said that what matters is how they vibe, how they love each other, they click, and are making their relationships work without it feeling
She sounds like
forced.
my wife.
Many of those things that seemingly matter have changed. Khalid.
That changed on both ends, but y'all want to hear my brother Khalid's answer to that.
Right. So again, guys, we're the first generation, maybe second generation of saying, hey, I really want this Walt Disney movie that's been presented to me, right?
Right.
Hey, I want to live the life of Bill and Claire, Heathcliff and Claire Huxtable, right? But with anything, you have to work through. So even if my generation has a lot of mishaps, hopefully my daughter's generation and then my grandchildren's generation will fare better, right? They'll learn the lessons that I didn't learn. Their kids will learn the lessons that they shouldn't learn, right? But we still need foundational things. So like for me, when my daughter was 10 years old, I told her, Anaya, now you're going to be mad at me and I'm okay with it and could care less. But I told my daughter, Anaya, all men cheat. So Anaya was like, Daddy, but you haven't cheated. But I said, I have, Anaya. And I said, the reason why I'm telling you that is not that I really believe all men cheat. What I'm telling you is all men are capable, and not just men, women as well.
There you go.
Because Anaya, you're breathtakingly beautiful, right? You're a beautiful girl. So I don't want you to ever think because your hair goes down to the middle of your back, your skin is tan brown, you're 5'9" and 125 pounds, and look like a New York City fashion model, that a man won't step out with you. In fact, to break your spirit down, he will mess with somebody who looks the polar opposite of you,
You know,
right?
it's
To
the
make
truth.
you
It's so
under
true.
and question yourself.
Right.
Well, I went
Go ahead.
first. No, go ahead.
Well, I wanna go back. Okay, so you have a daughter. She's 19.
She's just turned 21 Monday.
Oh, just turned 21. Okay, now were you married?
Yes.
Okay, so are you married still?
No, we're divorced.
You're divorced, and how long have just in the interest of self disclosure, right? So you've been divorced for now how long?
11 years.
You've been divorced 11 years. So you've been divorced for a good percentage of her
Right.
formative years. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And then even with that, let me just throw this out. If you're getting divorced and you have children under 18, please put you and your children into therapy. Because one of the things that I get asked a lot is, Khalid, how do you have this functional, acting, normal, humble child, right? Who's not acting like Cardi B right now? One, I'm the dad in her life. I'm the first love of a man in her life. I'm her role model. And two, look what I do for a living. Why would I go out in these streets and save everybody else's child and not make sure my child is highly functional? So soon as my ex-wife asked for the divorce, me and Anaya Kathleen Scott were in somebody's therapy session because I knew that this trauma was going to affect her. And I did not want to raise another Black woman who might have daddy issues or relationship issues.
Yeah, most present dads, though, those girls usually turn out okay. I mean, they have less trauma. Let me say that.
Yeah.
There's always exceptions. If
Right.
if he is a good dad. And I was listening to what you were saying. I didn't go that far, but I did tell people. Well, you met my oldest daughter, very successful
Mariah's
attorney,
awesome.
Mariah Levy.
Uh-huh.
But
She's great.
I always used to jokingly say, to your point, I hope she gets her feelings hurt by a boy in 7th grade.
Right.
Because I would tell her, people aren't perfect, and they'll let you down. So I was trying to, in my own way, just prepare her. But now I have 2 younger daughters. I mean, I told her that, and I jokingly say to all 3 of them, we date. When I say we, most Americans, men, women, We've become reality TV. Every little boy thinks his person is supposed to look like one of those Atlanta housewives. And every young girl thinks she's supposed to be with a guy that can afford one of those mansions or whatever. That's just not life. And what I do let them know is women do tend to mature fast. I can say that because I'm a man and I don't mind offending any other men by saying it.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell them, and I think all humans could benefit, men especially, date character first. We've gotten away from, because like you know in your business, trust counts, respect counts, how you make me feel counts, loyalty counts, your how much money you make counts, your character counts, but all that's been replaced seemingly by both sexes. So I'm hitting on everybody. Sex, money, what can you do for me? And I think the more education, back to the topic, and I'm not bad, and I want to hit Gina B's point on this, I think the more education some sisters get, they think that alone entitles them to a higher grade of man. But as a man, I always say, but if you look the right part, I don't care how much money and success I got. That's really what interests me, not necessarily your accolades. That's all I'm saying.
The booty over the books.
Absolutely, all
Is
men.
that what we're doing?
Pick a man.
Yeah.
Men, we're simple creatures.
Well, I get that you're simple creatures, but that doesn't mean that.
We should value that because women value that. I know women value.
Well, women do value it, but I'm not saying that creates the best pairing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, there are so many men who have children by women that they chose specifically because of the small waist and the big ass.
Absolutely, and they are paying the price.
And they are in trouble.
What happened to our guest? Oh, there we go.
There he is, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. That's a dumb thing. That's a dumb thing.
I mean, it happens, but I don't think it's the best way to go about it.
But you called me out on this earlier, and I need to.
Which thing?
But I need to hear. Now we got the expert on here, the media, because we get back and forth on it. So
Yeah.
I said this. Full disclosure, everybody. We were given Brother Khalid instructions on the show what time we start via three-way text, and Gina B got it. We and I got into the show early, so I contend this. I say this. I do it another way. I think that when I was a freshman in college, me and other men like me felt we were some guys in college. We were decent men, but we were getting overlooked during that time of our lives. For men who were older, men who were more popular, more successful in college, more well-known in college. I felt the same thing early in life when I started working. My first job, I was making $28,000 a year.
Okay.
I had an engineering degree. I just wasn't making that much money yet. So I felt at that age, man, these women, the nice-looking women that I wanted to date were seemingly dating men from my age to 35 years old. What a buyer's market it was for them. The difference between, I think, educated men, as men see our whole lives, regardless of race, it ain't fair. And we got to adapt. I better make some more money. I better do this. But what all of us weren't looking at, that successful man seemingly had an advantage over the women his age.
Yeah.
So we both have an advantage. It just happens at different times.
Right, exactly.
So I'm trying to tell my daughters, hey, if you in college, and I'm teaching them majors now, the little ones. If he's a chemistry major, what do you think he might be doing later? Date character first. I like money, and then how he looks, that's on you. I know that sounds crazy, but
Well, the point of a man, what do I always say?
right, but so I tell women there. So women, I've had women come to me and say, "Well, Kris, what about me? I said, life isn't over. My mother-in-law just got married close to 70. I personally, if I were a woman, men tend to value, successful men tend to value younger. If you're 30, that 35 to 40-year-old man is going to like you. If you're 40, go 5-10 years. If you're 50, I just have seen even older women, they're a young woman to somebody. And that man usually has more resources than a man younger. I just think that's important, and I think we've looked past a lot of what makes sense.
Okay.
So,
Color.
do you find that is that true? How I'm thinking about this, brother Khaled? Because I get people snapping on me, and I get women saying, "Well, Chris, men do it." Well, you're not a man. We value different things.
Right, right. So the thing is, you have to look at people individually. So I want us to come away from this cookie cutter mindset that we have,
Sure.
that Claire should have looked for Heathcliff. No, if Claire had her stuff together, she would have had a wonderful relationship with James Evans Sr.
True.
And she would have knew how to handle him on his level. Meaning, I don't emasculate James Evans because he doesn't have one of these degrees on the wall. In fact, he makes me feel so secure that my degrees on the wall are oblivious. They just things I work for.
You don't
But he
have women get on you for that.
You said what
You don't
now?
have women try to call
Not
you
at all.
out?
Because
Okay.
because now the women that I know in their 50s, again, they are now dating James Evans Sr.
Right.
They don't want Heathcliff Huxtable because they were married to him.
And some of them are finding out some of those blue collar brothers got some serious money put away.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They might have skills.
They might have some skills.
Absolutely. So again, there's no more blanket mentality with anything. You got to go. I know women, like I mentor young men in their 20s and 30s. They are like, Coach, I went on a date with a 45-year-old. Wait, you're 27. What do you mean you went out with a 45-year-old? Yeah. And I'm like, wow.
Right.
So,
Well, you don't treat it like it's such an anomaly.
I'm the wrong type of guy to be saying. I'm like, yeah.
Right.
Did you hit? No.
because what happened, remember, look what I do for a living. I don't like anyone being taken advantage of.
True.
Right? So it's just like when boys lose their virginity at 12 with a 20-year-old. That's sexual abuse, just like if it was switched around. If a 20-year-old man was sleeping with a 12-year-old girl. Right. So we have to stop that mentality.
We have a person, you probably can't see this, Khaled, but we have someone who wants your contact information. We will be sharing that before the close of the show in about 15 minutes. So just stay tuned and you'll get the whole tea. Okay.
Got you. So the thing is, I know why that 45-year-old went out with my 27-year-old mentee. He's an ex-football player, 6 foot tall, and ain't got no money. But what would she be wanting from him, right?
That happened to me.
Okay, hold on.
They liked his refractory period. You know what I'm saying?
Got you. But hear this out, guys. When I asked my mentees, how do you feel about a 40-something, 50-something-year-old woman laying down with you? They was like, Coach, it's nasty. It just tells how desperate older women are.
Wow, I didn't say that.
You have that. Listen, guys, please listen, please.
It's not sexist.
It is, though.
Do you think that a woman who sleeps with an older dude, maybe for some change, doesn't think in her mind that he's nasty? She knows what she's doing it for. It's just more readily accepted.
Well, you know what though? But there are some 45-year-old women out here that look really good.
They don't look like they did when they were 25.
Right, but guys, listen. You missed that. You missed the part I said. It was like, wow, Coach, you're not good for those women, so they got to come and be with somebody my age.
Right.
And that's the thing
that's what I'm saying. It's relative to age.
See, here's what I find interesting. Because men always want to, like, you talk to guys, right? Yeah. And guys who are like, let's just say they're 40 years old, and they're excited because they're dating a 19-year-old. Okay,
that's not the only reason why they're excited.
Okay, we'll just calm down for a second.
Right.
And what and their whole point is, I've still got it, right?
Right.
And I'm like, well, you've got something. I'm not sure if the it that you think you've got is the it that she is attracted to.
That's what they tell you.
I was once a 19-year-old, and I had friends, and I know exactly the reason why they dated older men. 19? Dating 40-year-olds.
Your eyebrows never came up when you were talking to a man at 19. Now they do. Men don't like that. Men don't like that. I'm just telling
What are
you.
we? What are you talking about?
I'm just saying
Eyebrows?
what changes, and I say this, men and women. We become, we are less tolerant, Gina B, as we get older. I know I am.
Well, what is eyebrows?
My point is,
What are you
men
talking
don't
about?
date younger just because they're younger. They date younger because those women haven't had the experience of a bunch of no good men, and they're very jovial how they
Okay.
act. Wait a
That's-
minute.
that's
Wait a
one
minute.
option.
Wait a minute. Men and women are different.
I,
Men really value that.
I understand that, but
So,
let me
so
finish.
the reason people think it's
See what I
crazy.
deal with?
Women deal with results, what you do, what can they get, how's this gonna
Okay.
work, how's it gonna grow. Men just want to feel good. And
Okay.
what we say on the show, be a kitten, not a cat.
Okay,
That's all
so
I'm saying.
let me finish my complete thought before you start going ape
Well,
shit.
start philosophizing.
So, I've seen. I'm telling you, having been an 19-year-old and watched my friends date, what ends up happening is a lot of these guys go for the 20-year-olds because no one their age will be bothered with where they are in their lives. Chris,
I gotta
do
say,
not.
I will wait.
Hey, yes. Okay, when those women get a little older and they realize, wait a minute, he doesn't really have his shit together after all. A lot of
Boom.
them break out.
Boom.
Because they're
Boom.
like, this is not what I thought it was. And once I realize that he might be looking for a purse or a nurse or whatever it is, then they fly the coop.
Men with character aren't that smart. We aren't that planning.
Shit.
What we do right, because women are smart.
They don't need to plan it, but that's what's happening.
Women make better decisions than men. But one thing all men do, all of us, we pick from the circle of women who like us.
Right, but
We do. Wait a minute. Hear that? We do. We never sit around and
understand
say,
that.
"I'm gonna wait," because I would shoot at Beyonce or Rihanna, but I'm not gonna shoot again because I would learn real quick that I ain't on that. They don't want me.
Yeah.
We gonna go to the circle of people who want us. And a lot of women with these educations, right or wrong, they can want what they want. Just like that man wanted a 20-year-old, he got with her because he could.
He got with her because he could, but it's because
It doesn't
she
matter.
was not as experienced in life
So
and
what?
had not seen a lot.
So
That
what?
is the reason why she was more attractive to him.
So what?
Because he knew that anybody
He's
that
free
his
to do
age.
what he wants to do.
I watched this whole.
That's not why, though.
I understand,
That's
Chris.
not why.
That's part of the reason.
No, he preferred that. He
Yeah.
didn't prefer someone his age. Gina B.
Whatever, he couldn't pull it.
Well, and you
In
know
a
what?
lot of cases,
But
don't slave.
He's gonna pull.
You see all these dudes who don't have their shit
He's
together?
gonna pull. You're right. It's a lot of men without their shit
They're
together.
like, let me go
and
younger.
somehow, they don't
You
all
should
go
know
younger.
better.
Somehow, they. So why? What do women? Why don't women solve their problem? Why don't they just go younger? Why?
Why
I
do they
don't
go
like.
younger?
I don't like
They
humans.
They go younger for stamina.
This
That's one.
relationship host is against men or women blaming their condition
Are you talking yourself
on
in third
someone
person?
else. I'm just saying, if I don't have a house, am I gonna blame the lender? Am I gonna blame the bank? If I didn't finish my degree, am I gonna blame my teachers, my parents? So I don't have the man that I want, but it's because he did that. You can't
No
change.
one's blaming
No.
anybody else. I'm just explaining
You
a
don't-
phenomenon.
No, you don't do that because it's not true.
It
That's
isn't.
the answer to that.
No, that's
Go
accurate.
ahead. We got the expert weighing in.
Okay, wonderful banter, but let me discuss reality. So remember I told you my mother was a 20-year-old dating a 45-year-old married man, right?
Yep.
Sure.
So understand that Mr. Lee understood that my mother was a poor single mother with a 2-year-old son,
Exactly.
and that he could make all of her financial dreams come true. When I saw a picture of his wife, who he was cheating on with my mother, she looked like a 30-year-old version of my mother. So he was very purposeful. Also, my mother turned the table around on him because I'm assuming he had other affairs, but my mother, because she had an agenda and was like, you're going to not only take care of me, you're going to take care of my entire family.
There you go.
Second of all, hear me out. Second of all is this.
Like your mom.
Mr. Lee, a few years after they dated, was like, Kathy, I'll divorce my wife and marry you. She was like, absolutely not, Joker, because you'll do what you're doing to her to me. So go ahead, pay that rent, buy my son his big wheel, and take your black butt home to your wife.
Right. And
So
not once did you
understand,
even blame him for her condition. She just made the best out of her situation.
No,
absolutely.
No,
You're going a little too far
women
afield.
more so today will blame their condition on someone else. I know I've had women take advantage of me. I've taken out women and spent all my little money. I could sit here and say, well, those women wanted, no.
No, but you know what? There are.
I
just
put
because you're not doing it.
voluntarily into that.
Okay, just because you're not doing it doesn't mean it's not done.
I
Okay, so there
I
are
have.
plenty of men who are like, I'm not taking women out anymore because I've taken women out in the past and I've dated some gold diggers, and so fuck it, I'm not doing it again.
Not any straight
Now,
men.
That's not accurate.
They all going out. They're not marrying them.
They're
They
going.
still
I mean,
sleeping
they're
with
not.
them.
Yeah, they're sleeping with them, but they may have coffee dates. They may not do dinner dates. They may be very cautious about how their money's being
They
spent.
should be.
That is a result of having
I
been
think
taken
women should be cautious
by
with
somebody.
other things that they're giving away relatively cheap.
Well, everyone should be cautious then. But you cannot tell me that there are not situations where a lot of older men pull younger women because they simply do not have their shit together.
I got it. But the title of the show, because I don't do that, I stay on topic.
No, you don't.
The title of the show
You rarely
is,
stay on topic.
if a man decides he wants a spouse, he has one 6 months later.
No, the topic of the conversation is: do college-educated women,
Right.
black women, have problems getting married?
Yes.
That you've given the
Yes,
converse.
they do.
So, where's our guest? So, do you think that there is an inventory problem, or do you think it's just that Claire Huxtable needs to open her mind to James Evans?
I tried to save herself, but I'll let the expert go first while I pull up blackdemographics.com.
Okay, so I have this belief that everybody has a match in this world. You just have to be prepared for that match, right? So even though they said there's 20 women to 1 man, all 20 of those women have a right, and there are options for them, but they just have to work on themselves to be prepared to when that man manifests in front of them. Also, and I brought this up in our chatter too, that our women have been indoctrined and have been educated and raised to say, you know what, you may not be able to depend on a man. You have to be self-sufficient, right? Now, I told my daughter that, but I added something extra. I was like, Anaya, Daddy is okay that you be the top neurosurgeon at University of Chicago Hospital, Bernard Mitchell. But when you bring yourself home, I need you to leave that boss chick at work,
Right.
and come home and be baby girl. I need your husband to know what it feels like for him to eat a meal prepared from your hands. I need your husband to know that you can clean that house, that you're going to take care of his kids like I took care of you. You lose no womanhood, no femininity points on trying to emasculate your man. Because if you got to emasculate him, don't marry him.
Correct.
So know your power position. And a powerful woman, and hear this, a powerful woman embraces her femininity every day, because you better believe I embrace my masculinity and it gets me everything I want in life.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Of course it does, yes. No,
Now-
I agree with you.
And to Gina B's point, I get what you're saying, but there's and Brother Khalid mentioned it at the beginning. We got a few more minutes.
He's got to
It is a falsehood to believe there are more women born than men, right? You got the incarceration effect, but there are
Except
so
for in
many.
China.
But there
Go
are
ahead.
so many, over 50% of black men are single and haven't had any children. They would be used up to for you to even have a beginning talking point of an inventory problem. They're there. They look just as good as the women because a lot of women have one kid, and income wise, at every level, the black man still makes more money than the black women.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at levels of 50 and below, there are more women making that money than men.
Levels
but-
of age 50 and below?
No,
50 and below.
50,000.
50,000 below, okay.
Over 100,000.
Okay.
Even with more black women, there are more black men making over 100 grand. And if you factor in 86% of married white women, but 94% of black, 14% of black men will marry someone outside their race, but 7% of women do. So even if you factor that in, those women with these degrees, they're men out here who are black, who are marrying black women, who, it's just not them.
Is it okay?
It's not them because
I was simply asking.
I'm just letting you know the numbers thing bothers me.
I'm simply asking.
Wait a minute. Anybody who doesn't like it, all those when I was quoting, blackdemographics.com. Go look at it. Come back next week. Say, well, Kris wasn't lying.
All I was asking is if we're going, education for education, right?
We don't. Okay.
I'm not talking about men versus women numbers. I'm talking about like if all of the are there the same amount of college-educated black men as there are college-educated black women?
No.
They're not. Okay. That was the question.
Absolutely not.
So you just gave me that whole diagram.
But they got more money.
That was what I was
curious
curious
about.
Money. Okay, that wasn't even the question.
But that's usually the issue women have.
But no, my question, I was only asking that question because the question, our topic is college-educated sisters and marriage. Like,
right.
if you're looking for somebody who's equally yoked, as they say, then is there an opportunity?
They don't like as men have learned, you pick from the circle who likes you.
Right.
They don't like who's looking at them.
Yeah.
Dang, I can only tell you. I say you are what you pull, man or woman.
Okay, this is a very different show topic.
Let's hear.
Walida.
Walida.
She says, I keep hearing and seeing that too many men want women to split the bills and still cook and clean as if she's not working. Can the man and woman share the responsibilities of both work?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
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 And I'm not sure that everybody will feel that way.
I've discovered that I like cooking. I wish I had taken this up earlier, but and a man with character, Sister Walida, and I always emphasize a man with character, won't let his woman be stressed out.
There you go.
Ever.
There you
If
go.
you got a man who's cool with that, if you stressed out, he's supposed to be stressed out too.
Absolutely.
So everybody have equal opportunity.
I always stress that because I don't like seeing my wife stressed out.
No, it's terrible for the whole household.
Well, especially if you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Both, y'all short on something. You're like, damn.
Everybody's short.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna, you know what? Let's wrap because I know that Khalid has he has to help somebody in about 3 minutes.
Thank you, brother, for coming on. Oh yeah, we got you ahead of appointment. We might do this again.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back. Now, can you tell people where they can find you?
There you go. Thanks.
Got you. Okay, so I'm on all social media platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, X now, and everything else, and Instagram. My telephone number is 312-43-SCOTT, and you can email me at KhalidScottLCSW@AOL.com. Also for the private practice, it's higherachiever.net. So I'm accessible.
Got it.
It's very accessible.
And even if you got to go, we thank you for coming. But Jake, I got to see whoever left that long. That's Dr. Somebody.
Dr. Cheryl Carr.
I got to see what the good Dr. Cheryl Carr said.
Okay, loving well and being loved well requires self-awareness. Most people like. My issue isn't being open to loving. My issue is that there are too many habitually single, lonely men that are angry and mad about women not fitting their traditional roles while they're not traditional. Men today are not they're not like men like my dad. And all my brothers cook and clean. My dad taught them.
Can we stop for a second? Go back, put it back. I want to. Because I like looking at people's words. We got a minute. Sister, Dr. Cheryl Carr, if those aren't the men doing what you like, go to some new men. I tell men the same thing. I get guys complaining, these women only want this, that, and the other. Bro, that's her choice to choose what she wants. If a woman wants a man with some money, that's her choice. Right. Similarly, doctor, I must say, if you don't like those men who do that, date different men.
Correct.
You are beholden to date
She's
them.
got a part 2 up there.
Right, let's look at part 2.
As soon as Jake gets finished putting in Khalid's contact. Okay. Some of the symptoms that can tell if you're experiencing male loneliness include inability to connect with fellow men or others on a deeper level, not having close friends or best friends, an overwhelming feeling of isolation even when around other people.
I'm gonna let Khalid wrap it up, but I got a comment because I see it every week, brother. At some point, Leave it up, Jake.
Okay, he's
At some
silent.
point, let's put it back. At some point, Dr. Cheryl Carr, as a man, when I was looking for a spouse, I could have easily kept talking about the other women out there that I felt weren't right. Instead, I went in other waters and found somebody who I wanted. I think people, not just women, but men and women, spend too much time, and you got to look in the mirror. If you want a certain type of person, if I want that type of woman, I went and said, well, what does that woman want? And do I have that? And it's a back and forth. If that what you want, you got to know if that wants you.
Right.
If not, you got to move on. That's men or women.
That's men or women. All right, we got to wrap.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
I'll see you next week.
Can I make a
Stay
point?
character first. That's all I got.
And we've
Can I
got the
make a
contact
point?
information in the comments.
The clinical therapist would like to make a closing comment. Absolutely.
All right. Okay, so I want to throw this out that you got to work on the best relationship you're supposed to have and the most loving relationship you're supposed to have. And what is that? That's the love affair you have with self. Work on the best version of you, and you'll have the best relationship, friendships, your relationships with family, your relationships with the opposite sex, same sex, whatever. But you have to be whole first. Second of all, know, and you talked upon this, Kris, know what your agenda is. For me, I love feminine women. I do not like masculine acting women. I would never be with one.
Most
And that's
men
okay
don't.
for me.
Right.
That's okay for me. You get to dictate, especially in our age, what you want in life. And I think what the pandemic did, because we had to sit with ourselves for 2 to 3 years and think about and be lost in our thoughts, we were saying, oh, wow, I don't have to take this anymore. I don't like this job. Let me get a new one. I want a degree. Let me go back to online school. I get to decide what I want. So for me, Khalid, personally, I'm in a friendship with benefits situationship. Now, when I tell people that, most people do this.
I'm over here like, he got the
Those
gift
are fun.
and he got to use it.
So what happens is this. I got to decide with my lady friend, and we decided on our first date, we are both busy empty nesters, and we are okay spending time on the weekend and going about our lives Monday through Friday, right? We both decided that having a companion is what works best for us. It was not me manipulating her or her manipulating me. And we're grown enough to take the ownership. And let me tell you this, we've been together for 22 months, never one argument. Why? Because we've managed our expectations.
I like it.
That's the best relationship where you can manage your expectations and just enjoy each other. I'm not fighting with nobody no more. And that's it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here on the Kris and Gina Relationship Show. We hope to have you back sometime. We have your contact information up in case anyone should decide to reach out. Is it higherachiever.com or net?
Net.
It's .net. Okay. So we have higherachiever.com up. We'll edit that. So if anyone would like to reach out to Mr. Scott, please do so. And we will see you next week here at the Kris and Gina Relationship Show.
Peace and love, people. Good job, Gina B.
Okay.